Hello and welcome to Issues, your regular weekly current affairs program from the Unity Station, NTA Channel 5, Abuja. Now, Nigeria's economical and monetary policy has continued to generate mixed reactions from experts, the citizens, and stakeholders. The implementation of the redesigned Naira notes has not come without its attendant effects on the people and economic transactions. These are some of the issues we will be looking at on the program Issues this week. I am Ifoma Ojinta Yoranko. Do stay, we shall be right back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Now, barely 3 months of this monetary policy, cashless has become topical in the public domain and most sought out item, even with the recent ruling of the Supreme Court on the coexistence of both the old and new Naira notes till December 31st, 2023. My guests on Issues will be joining us shortly to discuss some of the matters arising from this development. Join us again. And now with me in the studio to discuss Nigeria's monetary policy, the redesigned Naira notes, and matters arising is an investment banker and financial consultant. He is Ismaila Afiz. It's good to have you on Issues again.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Let's start, by highlighting the issues around what is happening in Nigeria, the monetary space. What's your take?
Well, what is currently trending now is the new Naira redesigned by the Central Bank of Nigeria, which they have been mandated. They have the mandate to do so, and it has been creating mixed reactions. And a lot of Nigerians have been passing through economic hardship for the past two months now that this policy was being effected on us. However, the reality is that it's a good policy in the right direction, but I think it was poorly. It was not planned very well. In terms of implementation, I think it is poor. It is poor in the sense that I think some certain apparatus have to be in place, because the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is still a cash-based economy. We are not a cashless, digitalized economy yet, because if you look at if you go back to status quo. Nigerian population today, as of today, is estimated at around 200 million. Now, from this 200 million, how many of us have bank accounts? I think it's about 66% of us have bank accounts with the bank. And from this 66%, less than 10% of us make use of internet banking or do transaction through electronic device. So, which means that about 90% or thereabout still run on cash based. That is number one. Number two is that if you look at the Nigerian economic landscape, the informal sector constitute about 60%. And most of this informal sector, which are SMEs, they make use of cash. They deal in cash. Most don't even have a bank account. You understand? So there's no how. So what should have been done is that there should have been proper awareness. That 2 or 3 months is too short. Okay. If you go to northeast, northwest, most of those states that are there, how many banks they really have? Book to like Borno, Yobe, Gombe, and Co. How many banks do we have in those states? And whether we like it or not, economic activities is going on there on a daily basis, and people are actually using cash to transact. You understand? So I think we are not there. It should have been a phase. Okay. It should have been done in phases, you understand? So that, cashless we've been hearing the news all along. But this happened most in high-brown cities like Abuja, Lagos, and others. What about those states where we have less financial inclusion? We have less financial institutions that are being located there. What kind of provisions are we making? Because they are also part of us. They are also part of Nigerians. So now, if you look at it now, since this thing started, people have to start using online, start doing transfer from their phone. People, that's one of the good side of it. But you will do some transfer, they will fail. One, you won't get to the final beneficiary maybe in 2 or 3 days. Then you will do it to bounce back.
Okay, we'll come to all that. I just want to ask you, because initially you said that the policy is a good policy.
It's a good policy.
Now, aside having people now to key into internet banking and all that, what are other things that makes it a good policy?
What makes it a good policy is that, number one, it will reduce the level of theft.
Okay.
You understand? It will reduce the level of crime. Then it will also reduce corruption too as well. Okay. Because when transaction is done electronically, you can actually trace them. But when it is cash-based, it is difficult for you to trace. There can be an appropriate auditory for electronic transfers. You understand? And people will be mindful. You understand my point? You understand? So that is it. And another point, CBN will be able to have an accurate data of the actual amount of money that we have in circulation for them to make their own prediction or projections as well. So it's a good policy because it has its own positive side too as well.
And as well as the negative side.
The negative side, okay. Yeah. But the public need to we need to take cognizance of the public, because any policy that is being initiated, you need to look at the overall effect on the public first before any other thing. But it's a good policy in the right direction.
Okay. Yes. Now, there has been, issues. People have been arguing for and against the cashless policy. As a stakeholder in the financial sector,
yes.
What's your take?
No, like I already said, the reality is that Nigerians need to know that dynamics have changed. We are now moving from an analog economy to a digitalized economy. Okay. And there's a need for us to embrace that, whether we like it or not. Cashless have to stay, because it has positive effects to the economy. Cash is a non-generating asset. If you put 1 billion naira in your house and you travel to Canada and you come back, it will not increase in value. In fact, it can even diminish because of time value of money. Okay. But if that kind of money finds its way into the banking system, the banks can actually turn that cash over by creating quality assets like loans for other businesses that need, because the banks is an instrument for financial intermediation from the surplus units down to the deficit units. You understand? And that is what we need, because the bank is the live wire of any economy. They are the one that interact with every sector. They are the one that interact with everybody. You understand? Whether we like it or not. You understand? So it's a good policy, right? Because those cash that has been stocked outside the banking system, we need them to find their way into the system to bring economic performance to our activities. So that is just, so it's a good policy. It's just that we need to plan it well. Wow. More awareness needs to be created for people. The payment service provider need to expand their base. The fintech, they need to expand their space too as well, to be able to accommodate demand. The banks need to put more investment in their IT infrastructure assets to be able to accommodate level of traffic of transaction that will come at real time. That is what we need to put in place. And also CBN is also need to ensure to see that to carry out an analysis, we have about 774 local governments in Nigeria. Now, let's now begin to identify those local governments that don't have access to banking services. So what alternative can be provided in those areas if we really want to go cashless? But if those things are not in place, then it will be difficult. This economic hardship will continue, whether we like it or not.
Talking about the economic hardship, we find out that Nigerians, are not finding it easy at all. The cash are not there. The internet banking, there are lapses, and all that. Of recent, the Supreme Court, had ruled that the
old currency can run with the new currency.
But we're not seeing it. So what is really happening?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but from my own little knowledge, CBN did not join in the case. It was a case between federal government and some state governor that took federal government to court. Okay. So CBN is not part of it. So the public needs to understand. So if CBN was joining the suit, it would have been a different case. They were not. So it was between the federal government and some state governor who took federal government to court.
But I still want to ask, if we are not going to, if the old Naira notes are not going to coexist, till the 31st of December with the new notes, where are the new notes?
That is now where we now need to begin to ask questions. CBN need to make this cash available, this new naira note. They need to they need to make it available so that it will reduce the level of body. You know, when people queue up at ATMs where they should have been at their respective areas of engagement for their daily activity, there is loss in productivity, there is loss in efficiency, there is loss in manpower, there is loss in labor cost, labor loss. Printing new notes is also a cost to the government.
Okay.
That is another angle. It's also a cost to the government. But like I said, we don't have a good data management system in Nigeria. Because if you have a good data management system in Nigeria, they will be able to know how to project, to know the amount of quantity of naira that need to be produced. Okay. Since we say we are going cashless. But you can't go cashless when apparatus have not been put in place. My local government is Epe. I have a town we call Jigbinde. This Jigbinde is about you have to travel before you from Jigbinde to Epe is about like 1 hour 30 minutes drive. So and these people in Jigbinde, their daily activities are they sell fish. They go to the river. When they get their fish, people come to buy from them, and they come with cash. So people in that location now, how would they be able to, you understand, look at the distance? So they stock their money in cash. So the provisions have to be made for this economic class of people. You understand? Before we can now say we want to go fully digitalized cashless economy. But if these apparatus are not there, we will still continue to experience this hardship. Now we're complaining that you do transfer, it doesn't go. As the bank expand their IT infrastructure, and if the bank is going to expand their IT infrastructure, we should also know that it's also a cost to the bank too as well. And are the customer ready to pay? Because bank is not a non-profit making. It's not an NGO. Okay. It's a profit-making organization. You understand? For every kobo they expended, there must be potential revenue to absorb it. Now I will give you one practical example of me. Now that this thing started, actually, I have someone I buy something from in my house because I transfer all the time. What I told the woman is that I can't be dashing bank for 50 naira per transaction. Let me pay you this lump sum at once, and let me pay one transfer charge. So anytime I come, just debit my account. Anytime I come, until I exhaust. Now, let's assume I'm going to buy something 10 times from this woman, and I'm to pay 50 naira per transaction. Whether I like it or not, because I'm a financial expert, I have to practice for myself. Bank has lose 50 to 450 naira for my transaction. Instead of me to pay 500, I'm not paying 50 naira. You understand? So what I'm saying is that for the banks to put all this IT thing in place to expand their base is a cost to them. And we should also be aware that most banks have to use 2 subscriptions, 2 network providers, so that in case one fails, the second one can actually pick up to accommodate the level of transactions per real time. You understand? So there's a lot that needs to be done. So the regulators and the operator need to sit down and come up with a policy framework that will be able to address all these potential issues so that the economic action can be reduced to the barest minimum. Most especially the poorest areas that we have in the country. Okay,
let's take a break now. You are watching Issues on NTH Channel 5 Abuja, and we are looking at the monetary policy, the cashless policy, and the redesigned Naira notes and other matters arising. The conversation continues in a moment. Please stay. Thank you very much for staying tuned and still with me discussing matters arising from the redesigned Naira note. Is an investment banker and financial consultant, Ismail Afiz. Now, before we went on break, we were talking about, the lapses in the banking sector. Aside, them not running an NGO trying to make gain, but customers still, bear the brunt. Aside not having this money, to spend, those who have keyed into the internet banking and the digital banking and all that, the platform, are not having a field day. I, for instance, I have monies, transfer that I have made. The person who I'm transferring the money has not gotten. It has not been reversed. Now, assessing,
internet banking.
No. Even going to the bank to make complaints is a big problem. What is the problem?
You see, we need to be sincere to ourselves in this country. I think there's a system failure. We have structural issues. And because, when you look at bank, their level of activity, the question, you also need to look at manpower to it too as well, that will also render that service. Coming from the, let me start from the IT space, the internet banking. If you are saying you are running digitalized economy, you understand, banks should expand their infrastructural assets to be able to accommodate the demands. People need to manage those facilities at back end, whether we like it or not. So we need to have backups who will manage this thing at back end. Now, the question is that, look at the jackpot syndrome. Most people that work in top organizations in Nigeria today have left Nigeria for another country. A job that 5 persons is supposed to do, you'll find out that 1 or 2 persons are doing it.
Okay.
Now, go and check. Go if you carry out a survey, more especially in banks and top organizations, they are facing high level of labor turnover. You understand? So that is why you say, when you say you go to the bank, you late complaint is not being done. The question is, a job of 5 persons, you find 1 person in charge doing it. Most have actually resigned. They are in abroad. And why are we having this? You know, when you have a system that is not upright, the competent one will leave. The incompetent one may not take charge. Then there will be an issue. So the government need to do something to make the country attractive to us. You understand? That is number 1. If you look at it in the world today, best investment banker, best lawyer, best in anything, the best doctor, there is no how we will not see Nigerians among them. But the question, are they in Nigeria? No. Another country is harvesting their potential because they believe that they are not being welcomed here. Here is not being attractive. Most organizations don't provide good welfare for their staff. Definitely they will leave. So who will not do the job? So even though if you have machine in place, you have technology in place, who you are using for your processing, you need man intervention to operate those technology. If man is not there, then the technology is useless. So welfareism is key for staffs in every organization. That is the reason why all these things could be experienced, whereby you will see that people will go and they will not be attended at the right time. Coming to the internet banking space, the reality is that most banks have not expanded their IT infrastructure yet to be able to accommodate the demand now. Because now, people now, okay, within January, within February and now, if you go to some local markets now, you will see meat seller, these people that sell fish, they begin to have POS now, unlike what is being done before. These are online transactions. Traffic have increased. So once traffic of transaction increased, banks also need to increase their level of infrastructure to be able to accommodate it. If they don't increase it, then there will always be lapses. Transfer that will be going will be bank to bank. But when you now do bank to interbank transfer, there may be a little bit delay. Maybe the receiving bank, at the end of the day, has not developed its own IT infrastructure yet. And that is when CBN now need to come in and now see how they need to come up with a policy framework to address the issue of IT. They need to take the issue of IT in banks seriously as a matter of urgency, even though if there is a need for them to carry out an IT audit for all banks in Nigeria to ensure that they actually operate at minimum standard. You understand? That is when this complaint can actually be reduced. And also how they can encourage CEOs of banks in Nigeria as well to provide good welfare for their staff. Because in business world today, there are 3 key things that drive every business today in the current trend. 1 is strategic partnership. Number 2 is people. The number 3 is digital innovation. People, investment in human capital is key. You have to train and retrain people. That is when productivity can come. But we are not having it. We need to tell ourselves the truth. That is just the reality on ground.
Okay. No, aside, the banking sector, expanding their base and all that, can we really go totally cashless? Are there countries that have gone total cashless?
Yes.
I just want to find out. Are there countries who are operating total cashless?
The European countries have been doing that for so long. The likes of UK and US. If you look at UK,
so there is no money transaction anywhere.
There is, but it's minimal. It's minimal, yeah.
Okay. Do we also put into consideration some of our older persons who are not ICT savvy?
Tech savvy.
Yes.
Tech savvy. This is when orientation needs to go. More enlightenment. We can't go 100% cashless. Not possible. But if we can achieve at least 70%, 75%, it's still reasonable. You understand? So our target, that is why I said this should have been done in phases. How can we have presence of financial institutions in each of the local governments? If not the deposit money bank, maybe a microfinance bank should be provided. You know, these POS have actually increased level of inclusion too as well. POS, points on sales service. So that is, I think that is another angle we need to look into. And the fintech companies are coming up. We have a lot of fintech companies that are coming up. The reality is that if other people can make use of phone, if they can make use of mobile phone, they should be able to also be tech savvy to perform little transaction too as well.
Oh, okay. We hope they will be able to do that. Now, what's your take on the daily withdrawal limits?
It's just to control the flow of cash in the circulation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a control put in place.
Okay.
To control
towards going cashless.
Towards going cashless. It's just an initiative being instigated by CBN. Yeah, that's to say no, you can't withdraw above certain limit so that you can actually monitor, and so this will actually reduce the level of theft that we have in the country.
So many reasons were given for the redesigning of the naira notes. One of it is that it's going to to a large extent curb the issue of vote buying, going to curb kidnappers asking for ransom and all that. Has this really helped in any way?
Actually, this last election is a point to say yes, vote buying have actually been reduced, whether we like it or not. In fact, I think that is one of the greatest achievements so far. There is no cash inducement. The level of cash inducement reduced to the barest minimum, and that is where you can see that in the last election, people that have not heard their name before were able to get into one or two elected positions. You understand? So on the kidnapping aspect of side too as well. Well, for the past 2-3 months now, I think there's a little bit lesser noise in that regard. I don't want to talk much, but there's a little. But I know there are some other areas that the government have looked into, maybe for security reasons. They may not want to bring it to the public domain. Yeah, for security reasons. Let me use that word.
Okay.
Yeah, but the reality is that one of the greatest achievements Buhari government have actually done is this naira redesign. Everybody knows that, but it just came at a very wrong time. Appropriate planning was not put in place. There's a disconnect.
Okay.
There's a high level of disconnect.
Then what is the way forward?
The way forward now is that, number one, the fiscal authority and the monetary authority need to come together and work in synergy. You understand? Because the economy of the economy of every country is in their two hands. They have to work together. Now, the operator and the regulators too also need to stick together and bring out a policy framework that can actually address all these things. The number 3 is that the banks today, they need to invest more in their IT infrastructure to be able to accommodate demands that come with time. The fintech also need to broaden their space. The payment service provider too also need to broaden their space. Then CBN also needs to do more enlightenment about this cashless, most especially at the rural areas, for people that this is the new trend and they need to provide necessary apparatus. Let's see a situation whereby we can have the presence, if at least a microfinance bank in every local government in Nigeria. You understand? So I think at that point we'll be getting there. Now we see Network and Airtel and Glo, they achieve it. If in those porous areas you can make phone call, that means that they've been able to mount what is it called? Their marks has been situated in those locations. So if the people in the telecommunication could achieve it, I think it's also achievable too at the banking sector level too as well.
Okay.
So CBN now need to provide necessary support to the operator for them to be able to get that done. Whether like a palliative, I don't know, but it's not left for them to decide. Okay,
we are running out of time, but I must ask you, as a financial expert, we don't know when this is going to end. As a financial expert, what advice do you have, for Nigerians as we go through this process? My own for Nigeria now is that we need to embrace cashless. We need to know cashless has come and it has to stay. So everybody now needs to start. People who are not using online platform now should please embrace it, because it is good for the economy. It is when we have money in circulation
that the bank can actually turn it over to expand economic activities.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Ismaila Afiz, investment banker and financial consultant. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on Issues.
All right, thank you for having me.
Well, that's the outlook of the program this week. We are told to embrace the cashless policies good for the economy, and we hope to see you same time, same station next week when we bring another important topic on the table. Till then, I remain Ifoma Ochinta. Bye for now.